our calendar brings us to the Middle East this weekend for the Qatar Grand Prix. Making its debut as a Formula One track in 2021, Lusail International is Qatar's Grand Prix circuit. Designed initially with motorbike racing in mind, drivers will need to adopt that two-wheeled mentality of speed and maneuverability if they want to succeed here. The sprint today sees the drivers tackle 19 laps of the Lusail International circuit.
It's a fast track here in Qatar. Expect to see the pack fight it out, trading places to improve their chances of scoring more championship points.
We're ready for the sprint here in Qatar. It's lights out and away we go.
Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 62. It's a sprint race. We're in Qatar, and we'll see how this goes. Florsch qualified 19th on merit, so she qualified ahead of somebody. That's great. Crawford qualified 9th. Had a good start here. Is 8th. There's going to be a number of cars on the softs. I'm shocked that no one else has opted for the mediums. The softs were not going to make it. They were going to be well below 30%. There's a real risk of something going wrong, which means we're going to definitely push beyond the couple laps. We have to push on this first lap. We're going to lean on the tires beyond lap number 2 to try to recover ground. Mediums can definitely make it, and obviously don't have as much pace early on, and we're going to be strong in the final laps. We have to defend in these early laps. But my goal today, get as much racing in as possible. So speeding things up, let's get a move on. As you can see, we're already starting to get an advantage in terms of tire life, but everyone is past that point, so we'll back off. Okay, we don't want to cook them, so easing off. Got that extra lap out of them. Crawford's down to 11th. Florsch is 19th. They said early on the threat is going backwards as everybody else opted for the softs. Really surprising that they did. Like I said, they're going to finish the race at about 25%. Mercedes 1-2 out front. Sonoda squeezing his way in there. Really strong performance for the McLarens. And it's the usual suspects, the 5 strongest teams, 1 through 10. The 6th strongest team is 11th and 12th. We're not 13th right now. We were 9th. We've got a long ways to go to get back into this thing here on lap 8. But with how things have gone so far, we're going to want to kind of push on a little bit later. I think we need to keep an eye on. Magnussen runs wide, and Sonoda enters the pits. Did he collect him?
Here we are then, reaching turn
Magnussen
30.
was only 10th.
That's
Didn't even lose a position there, but everybody's below the happy zone of 60, so they're already going to start dropping pace a little bit. Some of them are below 50 now. Sonoda, no idea why he ended up pitting. Pourchaire is pitting. They're going to all end up pitting. Is this what's going on here? They're going to end up pitting? They realize they're not going to make it now? Why'd they put the softs on if they knew they weren't going to make it? And that it was going to be a one-stop race. Surprising stuff. Okay, I think time to start pushing. Yeah, look at that. They're already in the 30s with many laps to go. Fuel's right. Crawford 14th, get around Sargent. I thought we settled in at 13th. I didn't realize we went down lower than that. Push the fuel. Florsch 2 seconds behind, closing up on Gio. 3 laps to go. Tell her to go aggressive. Okay, we did get around Piastri. Back to conserve. Low down, it's lap 18. Back up into 12th now for Crawford. Closing up quickly on these guys these last few laps. And we get back up to roughly where we started, which was 9th. 8th off the line. We're only 12th, and that's even with pit stops for some. So really surprised by the difference here. But will we see punctures? How are there not a dozen punctures already? Wow. Okay, fuel just went slightly negative. Flourish up around Geo. Oh, Gasly squeezed us there.
Ocon wins this.
Right on board, trying to go up the inside of Gasly. Ugh. I had to give him that little extra lean and it worked. 10th, no points for that. Botat. Like, how? How? I do not understand how. Two guys pit for Sharon Tsunoda. They got back to 13th and 14th. They recovered that much ground. That's insane. We were on mediums. We still had life. Okay, fine. We're not going to have the kind of pace that the two guys on the sauce had. But how have out of 16 drivers that stayed out there, 16 drivers that were at 25% or all the way down to 9%, how did all 16 of them get by without a puncture? I punctured 75 to 90% of the time if I get below about 22%. At least 3 out of 4, if not 4 out of 5, if not more. Not 9 out of 10. That was shocking. And we should have easily gotten back up into the points for that alone. There should have been 3 to 6 punctures there.
Here on the outskirts of Doha, the excitement continues to build as we approach the Qatar Grand Prix. And as the cameras turn to the Williams driver, you have to wonder what they can manage here.
They'll be a bit frustrated to start in P18, but if they nail their race strategy, who knows what they can pull off.
This should certainly... We're about to get going here in Qatar. It's lights out and away we go.
Each driver's up 1 spot from where they started. Flourish starting P18, Crawford starting P8. Both got a good start. Flourish up to 16th, Crawford up to 7th. Crawford going for the soft medium strategy, which is not going to be available to a lot of drivers as they did not save the tires to do it. They're going to end up on the hards at some point. It's going to give us a pace advantage. Meanwhile, Flourish is going to be on the most aggressive strategy that I expect to see out of anybody. But she started on the mediums and managed to get a really good start despite starting on mediums. That's amazing. But she's going to go medium, soft. She's got the extra softs left, and we're going to give it a shot. We may end up, if we have to pit early at all, we may end up having to change that back to a medium soft medium or a medium soft. But we'll see what the life of the tire is like. For Flourish, we want to lift a little bit earlier, but it's lap number 2 only right now. Crawford, I thought we had settled in at P7, but we didn't. It's P8. Okay, DRS is enabled. Flourish is already out of DRS range. We cannot afford to push with her because we're going to go aggressive. We're going to go aggressive on the tire strategy. Therefore, it's time to settle in for both. Ocon runs wide, does not drop to 20th, drops 1 position only from 1st to 2nd. That is some serious luck right there. As Sargent gets around Flourish, she drops to P18. Crawford overtaking Russell, gets P7, and gets him out of DRS range instantly. Setting a good pace. Around Verstappen up to P6. Is this going to be one of those kind of days where we are comfortably into the points with Crawford? I'd say Flourish is having a good day, but you could also say, well, maybe not so much. She was 16th. However, she's on the mediums now. She's going to be on the softs later. And I'm guessing there's a lot of cars, nearly half the field, all in softs. Spin on turn 4. And Magnussen dives in. Didn't catch who it was that spun. You can see just how hard it is for soft, medium to make it. Crawford's not quite as good on smoothness as Flourish. Harder to be as aggressive. Plus, when you make Q3, you burn through more compounds. Overall spread, Crawford to Flourish is 16 seconds. That's 6th to 15th. That's a pretty good size gap right there. And Crawford, this is his optimal pips. Yeah, we're coming up on 33%, so we want to do it this lap. As for fuel recovery, 16 laps of 57 means we're well under a third of the way into the race, and we've recovered 5/10. That's a good amount of recovery already. Plus, really, there's the 2 push laps at the start that makes your fuel situation worse. Fuel recovery seems like it's not going to involve any lift and coast today. It's 57 overall laps, so it's in that in-between where I could have risked it and gone for Maloney and Verstappen both pit. Okay, this is a worrying sign on that part. We're going to be right behind the AlphaTauri. If we get a good enough stop, we can jump him, but this game is so so cruel about that. 2.4, we come out ahead. We come out ahead. We've jumped them both. Maloney. In fact, Maloney gets held up by Verstappen. Verstappen was fast enough to get ahead of Maloney. And so that easily held him up. And with the gap to Verstappen, we get out ahead. So Maloney drops 2 positions. One more stop coming much later on. Flourish, she's got a ways to go till her stop. You can see her aggressive strategy there. It's this first and second stint that are going to be kind of pushing it. You might be able to squeeze one more lap out of the last stint, but that's about it. Magnussen has not pit. No, that's Albon. And Albon is not pit, but not aggressive. Not aggressive enough on the overtake, and Verstappen goes around. That's Flourish. Verstappen's already gone around Flourish even. So Crawford's almost a pit stop ahead of Flourish already. He started on the soft, she started on the mediums, and he started 10 positions higher. Okay, coming up on a perfect overtaking spot here shortly. Going to the inside. Overtake done. P11. Flourish down to P12. Now have a pit stop separating us. But Crawford, mediums the rest of the way. Softs for Flourish in the near future. She's got a handful of laps still to get through. Maloney's still behind her. How far behind Maloney is? Yeah, not far. Russell, Stroll into the pits. Let's speed things up for a little bit while she finishes her stint. We know she's going to get overtaken. There is traffic here. Still ahead of Maloney? No, Maloney got her just into turn 1 there. Took a lot longer than the others to make that overtake, but the overtake did happen. Now there's a couple positions as Pourchaire has also gotten around. Russell has gotten around Crawford. How did that happen? We were ahead on track and pit earlier. Figured for sure we'd have an undercut situation. 32% on our in lap. That's worked out well. Apparently you can run down to 9% here and not have a problem, so we should not have a problem going soft to soft for the rest of the way. But Flourish, she's had to suffer through this first stint. Magnussen pit very early. No idea how Russell's still ahead of us. That's the confusing one. Was that the traffic on board with Flourish? Pit stop 244. I believe that's right about the same time as what Crawford had. I wasn't looking as closely. I was looking at the track position. Crawford comes back out. Flourish, that is, comes back out P18. Way behind the next group of cars ahead. Fuel recovery continues to be nice, and we are at the halfway stage of this race. Lap 28 of 57. Crawford is P9. Maloney got ahead of us when we should be trying to get back forward, back up towards P6. And then Crawford just ran off. Crawford runs wide, turn 5.
Right, we're down at turn 5. And that won't help their chances. And they'll find themselves at a disadvantage if they keep on doing that.
Only cost us a second, but what it's cost us more importantly. What's your... Driver confidence is now very low. One mistake and that confidence is very low. Crawford pitting from P8. Others are pitting as well. Verstappen in on the same lap. Gasly in on the same lap. Two, 4, 4, 3. Really consistent pit stops from the pit crew team today. We've progressed 10 laps there very quickly. Down to 1 kilogram on the fuel recovery to go. And then we did, 6/10 in 10 laps. So I think we might just about make it without any lift and coast today. Crawford, done with stops, out in P12. Up to temperature. Not needing to lift and coast. Has a little bit of battery left. But what have we done? I mean, where have we gone wrong? Maloney, Porsche, Sonoda have all pit already and early. In fact, ahead of us, most everybody has. You got... Is Norris going to go the distance? You got 5 guys at the front that need to pit, but of the front 6. But all of these cars have undercut us and somehow managed to still have better pace, because they did this last time. They've undercut us even further this time. Are they going to be able to go the distance safely on these mediums, or are they going to end up on a 3-stopper? I would love to see that, because in that case, no way did they beat us. Do they? Magnussen 16 seconds ahead. Yikes. We're in no man's land. Crawford is. Florsch, optimal pit stop lap. She has held up a little bit better. We're going to give her that 1 additional lap before we pit, because she can. 31. She's going to push it below that 30 mark, but not by far. And that 1 extra lap sets her up for a little bit better, stronger finish. She's not running last. She's got cars behind her. Final stop of the day for the team. 2:05:01. Very consistent. All 4 pit stops between about a 2:44 and a 2:5 flat. Florsch is a lap down. That is the race leader just ahead of her, I believe. No, that's Norris. That is second place Norris. Ocon is just ahead of them. So she's got those 2 ahead of her. Porsche, Sonoda, Magnussen all have some pretty serious issues in terms of the tire wear. Still got the couple guys, or 1 at least at the front, that needs to pit. There's a lot that look like they're going to try to go the distance and might be in trouble in the final laps. Or might not. But we'll find out. 12 to go. 12th and 18th, half a lap between our 2 drivers, but hey, it's not the almost a lap down that we were so used to. Kept up for quite a while, not getting blue flag. No blue flag situation, even though she is a lap down. Her fuel's fine because she's a lap down. Slowing it down a little bit as we have 5 laps to go. Crawford's still only P12. We've caught Gasly, or Gasly caught us. We get around Gasly. Maloney is now just 4 seconds ahead. Maloney's at 49%. Gasly pit same time as us, came out just behind us. We've been going around together. Stroll's caught up, but down to 53% on those softs, and their usefulness is going to go away. Russell's a little bit worse off. Sonoda is very bad off, but it's only 3 laps to go already. Yikes. I don't think those 2 are in range. It's just, no, they're not. They're nowhere near in range. It's going to take somebody getting a puncture to close up on them. We're more than a second ahead of Stroll, who just got around Gasly, and we have not gotten our fuel right. Florsch is a lap down, so she's fine, but Crawford, worryingly here. We have to push. We have battery to deploy, but we have to lift and coast on this final lap. We already got it down to play 2, though. Stroll got DRS even though he was 1.3 down and closed right up on us, only 0.3 behind. There's only a single DRS sector, so that hurts that he got that when he didn't earn it. Puts him all over the back of us, and we're 3 seconds behind Maloney, but the fuel's already almost right, so we'll be fine. Surprised we had to lift and coast at all. Half a lap of it is all. It would help if we were watching Crawford instead of Flourish.
Lando Norris wins it.
Norris
He's
wins.
first over the
Ocon
line.
second. Ocon caught all the way back up but did not get around Norris. Low fuel range Flourish. There you go. She's fine. And there's that positive delta. Now we have half a lap to go for Crawford. Less than 2 seconds behind Maloney. But Maloney's at 37%. He's not that far below us. Not sure how they conserved and made it to the end. That'll get us to the finish line. But it's P11. No points today. We got P10 in the sprint race. That's no points. We get 11th here. That's no points. The undercut worked for other drivers. We had a chance to undercut others, but we got caught behind one car for a couple of laps before we overtook him. In that time, Verstappen went around and went off into the distance. And we lost 5-6 seconds, it looks like. And that stopped us from undercutting anybody. And so we end up losing out. We went from a solid, P6, P7 in the first stint to losing that handful of seconds, getting undercut. And the combination bumped us down to 12th. Eventually we got 11th, and that was all. Flourish, not last though. And overall, it's still an okay day for the day. AlphaTauri picks up 1 point. No, AlphaTauri picked up 2 points. But we remain ahead of Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri. They're the only two to watch out for. As long as AlphaTauri is only scoring 1s and 2s, we'll be fine with an 11-point gap. For Alfa Romeo, though, 5 points is definitely closer, and gotta watch out. Not a great day in the pits, but it was a standard day in the pits, and we are clearly, that much faster than than everybody else. And our standard versus Red Bull's standard is they're faster by a 10th, but we're faster by a 10th and a half over everybody else. So good standard day. Yeah, 2.4. We got a 2.4 flat and a 2.5 flat, but everything fell within that range. Consistent, but not great. Tanaka has entered the 60 club, so we have a 60, a 71, and an 80 for our 3 drivers. We almost got that happy zone, that landmark 60, 70, 80. Also, I'd still rather have Flourish at the 71 that she is at. All right, we're going to get another shot at trying to re-sign Crawford for the coming season. Last time we offered 3.1. He's happy with everything else, or at least neutral. 10th place neutral there, but everything else is positive reaction. The 1 season deal is neutral. I don't want to sign him for more than that, and I think that's why we're having to overpay here a bit. Still declined and still not happy. For his level, he's had 1 podium in his career, I guess, but for his level and for, being somebody who was signed partway into the season, he's asking for a lot. He is asking for a lot, and I don't think we're going to get another chance. No, not for now. It's October already. Scouting of others definitely has commenced. He's really starting to bother me with how much he's asking for. It's money that could be and should be going to other things. Speaking of, we're at $32 million. We might have our final facility upgrade of the year here in a moment. Let's make sure everything else is okay, which it's not. The refurbishing is going to spend up a bit too much cash for my liking. Hospitality is nearly upgraded. It's the last one in that department, the scout department, but no issues otherwise there. Oh, we are 9 days away from the design center getting to tier 5. The wind tunnel is the one I wanted next. 27 million. That is cutting it close. That's 3.8 million left. 11 days, and we just started the month, so we don't have a big pay come in here just yet. I think I'm going to hold off a little longer on that wind tunnel, maybe one more race weekend. With an underfloor and rear wing upgrade, the last 2 upgrades for the year are done, and so the manufacturing side is just getting underway. And then I've started, even though we do not have any wind tunnel time, I've started a couple of research projects because we still have a few weeks till we start the new period, and those are only going to take a few weeks to do. So we're now focused on research, and there's only 2. There's only 2 areas of the car, the chassis and the side pods, that have a reset. For the side pods, it's 10% For the chassis, it's much bigger. So we're going to invest the vast majority of our time into a chassis research project, if not all of it. If not all of it. We might put a few hours into the side pods to help give it a little boost. But you can see with a 10% reduction, it's still good. We're still looking at 77% drag reduction, 83, 75, 75 on the side pods. I've worked really hard on side pods this year. With that 10% loss, it's really not going to hurt that much. But that chassis, it's down to 52, 68, 51. That's terrible. So a big commitment for that next project, and we might have enough time. Actually, I do think we'll have enough time to get 2 of those in before the end of the year. Well, a third, 2 more. So 3 of each.
Welcome to the United States Grand Prix. The Circuit of the Americas is known for its bumpy surface, and with around 133 feet of elevation changes, starting with the uphill climb to turn 1, the Big Red, it's an all-round challenge for cars and drivers. Starting up here in Texas for the Sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go.
I had thoughts of trying to do 3 races for this episode. I've done it before, but it's hard to do. But back-to-back sprint races means that really we're doing 4 races or 2.5 anyway. So it is extra challenging to get through that, and already makes it just about an extra race. Good start on this one. Crawford qualified P7, comes off the line in P8. Florsch qualified P16, is P16. She qualified there naturally. No penalties have been assigned yet because it's the sprint race. They get assigned for the race proper. That's fantastic news here as we are on the tail end of lap number 2 and ready to settle in. Just getting down to 3/10 on the kilograms. Well, let's see if we can hold these positions. For one thing, Crawford would score his first point in a little bit here, as we didn't get points last time, just missing out by a position or 2 each of the last 2 times. But now Crawford's down to P12. What the heck is going on with that? Everybody's on the mediums. How is he getting overtaken so rapidly? We don't seem to have as much pace in a sprint race. And I think this is part of the reason why. We are so used to underfueling. We get to a sprint race, there is no underfueling. Everybody's in the same boat on that one. You push on the first couple laps, and then you lift and coast to get back what you expended, and puts everybody on that same strategy. We're not lighter. That little bit of a difference, lap by lap by lap by lap, makes a big difference over the course of a race, and it stops us from going backwards. Unlike now, where we've clearly gone backwards. We've lost 4 spots with no good reason for it, and everybody's on the medium, so it's not like it's a compound thing, and there's been no mistakes. Big gaps opening. The back 5 cars are clearly slower
We've got a
than everybody
yellow
else.
flag
We got a
here.
yellow flag. Sonoda with a spin. Crawford gets around Bottas, gets back up into P10. Lap 15, but Florsch drops 4 positions all of a sudden. Crawford's back down to P12. So we were up to P10, and then we DRS our way backwards. Red flag. Is there going to be a restart? The session is halted. There is no change. So just as we're about to make our move, and whoever just red flag Porsche in 7th, you get the classification of 7th, you're out of the race. You crashed out.
We're not far off now here in Austin as the drivers ready themselves for this 56-lap race. Now I wonder, will things be going Lando Norris's way in this race?
It's a P2 start for them, an excellent opportunity, and no doubt they'll be looking to grab it with both hands.
Here we go. It's the United States Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
So disappointed by what happened in that sprint race with that red flag. Porsche, he's P4 right now. He was the one who caused the red flag. He was out of that race. He did not finish that race. He did not make it back to pit road. He would have been passed by all the other cars on the way to pit road. Nobody was a lap down. There's absolutely no excuse for him to retain his position at the front. And for us, it really hurt us. It really cost us. There were some penalties in the field, not many. So Crawford P9, Flourish P20. Crawford only has 3 sets of tires left. He's got 3 sets of tires left. A soft, a hard, and a medium. So I'm going to go order of soft, hard, medium. So we've at least got some good running at the end. I'm going to try to push on the hards to keep up some good pace while we're on there. Flourish, though, had better options for her. We're going to go medium, hard, medium, and spend more time pushing. And it looks like Crawford was caught up in this accident. We're in for a bad day. It's the Aston Martin. Always the Aston Martin.
Not a lot of wiggle room here.
The overtake was done. Is it our fault for not giving him enough racing room there? We pretty much went right to the end, but we were a ways ahead. So, did we have full rights to that corner? Did he need to back off and concede the corner, or did we owe him space? That's the big question there. And as a result, strolls down to P12. Crawford. Well, there's that damage. This is going to be one factor today. Was back-to-back sprint races. I was like, screw it. We're going to use the same ERS gearbox and get through it. Minor suspension damage. Yeah, Crawford's going to be in for a bad day now. I doubt we are going to be aiming for any sort of points here. He's definitely going to have to pit earlier than expected. Flourish's strategy is fine, but she's last place. Competitive. Well, cars have crashed. Crawford again. Second incident involving Crawford. If these components weren't trashed already outside of the engine, I would very much. But that second incident's already got us down to 36%. We're going to be pitting much earlier than expected. Oh, and we got a penalty. We got the penalty. I'm guessing our confidence is an all-time low. Yeah, 0%. Crawford's still P12. Flourish is P19, by the way. And Gasly is P20. 6 seconds ahead of Flourish when you add a 5-second penalty to it. We're only 1 second ahead of Flourish right now after starting. We knew there would be more mistakes with Crawford, though. I mean, the reason why I went with Gota in the first place was to avoid the mistakes and save the money. But when he couldn't perform and couldn't overtake, we had to make a hard decision, and that hard decision has led to a few more mistakes from Crawford than what Gota would have ever offered us. And in his case, we've nearly made it to the end of the lap. We have made it to the end of the lap. Multiple cars have crashed. Sainz in the Red Bull and one of the Mercedes. And he just hit his rear. That's 100% on Sainz. He hit their gearbox. Time to serve that penalty. Long pit road here. Oh, and then they have a problem? Really? Wheelman can't align it, so it turns it into a 12.5-second stop. Perfect. And there's 4 race weekends in 5 weeks this month. That just shot up the fatigue factor. This is the first of 3 race weekends in a row. Crawford 7 seconds ahead of Gasly. Busy pit road, multiple cars just ahead of Flourish in the standings. Her stop, it's a very good one, 2.268, and it absolutely closed the ground down on cars ahead of her, and she is directly behind Crawford. Directly behind him. Halfway point of the race, Gasly got around Flourish, but she gets back around him, but otherwise we are holding the exact same position. It looks like we have no forward progress between the engine, between the suspension damage. Crawford does not have good pace, and Flourish remains just a few seconds behind him, so it's backed him up to a very similar pace to what she has. So it looks like we are not going to be scoring any points today as we make our way towards our final pit stops. Pitts comes out behind us, but that's the only way forward at the moment. Actually, really, the only way forward is going to be others making a mistake. Driver confidence is back up to a medium, and for Flourish, it's somehow low. Nothing's happened with her today. Absolutely nothing wrong. No mistakes. And she's got no confidence. She's been overtaken a couple times, but 3 seconds behind her teammate. She should be happy. Giving up 16th position, a 2:37. Much better stop for Crawford. But he comes out last place. Done with the pits for the day. Florsch is 16th as she enters pit road. Not the greatest position to be in when cars have pit around us. She's going to definitely come out behind Crawford. Crawford has been able to undercut her on this last stint. Crawford's job is going to be to try to hang on a much longer time on the mediums. As for Florsch, she's going to be able to push more. We pushed a lot more on those hards. It did help her keep up, and she'll be able to push more on these mediums. Lean on them more. She went from 3 seconds to 15 behind, so Crawford gained 12, but is only back up to P16. And I'm thinking we're looking at everybody around us being done. Not a great day at the office for sure. We are not even beating one team at this stage. We are last place on the day. Crawford competitive, but still 5 seconds behind the next closest car. Now just 15 behind her teammate. So she's gained 5 seconds on Crawford. But it doesn't look like anybody's out of the race. It's always an Aston Martin. Sargent. That's a pretty nasty crash right there. Sargent picks up the penalty. Pourchaire going backwards. Got them both in the red, but 0. They'll be fine. Pourchaire out of the race. 7 seconds behind Gio. 11 behind Crawford. So she's gained 9 seconds on him pitting later. He gained 15 undercutting. She's turned around and got 9 back. The Astri getting DRS, helping save him when it comes to Stroll. Florsch just 9 seconds back now. Norris with the win. Mercedes back to back here. They've had quite a few races this season. We need to check on that constructor to see what it's looking like now. Florsch just 4 seconds off the back. Competitive day for her. That's good. Just 9 seconds off her teammate. That's good. But the circumstances of why she's just 9 seconds off her teammate and why Crawford's had such a bad day in 16th, it's competitive, but it's not a great finish. 16th for Crawford. 19th for Florsch. So, on to the championship standings, beginning with the drivers. Verstappen is on top of Norris, but it's a battle. I mean, we're talking just 43 points between them. Is very much still in reach. Norris now has 7 race wins this season. Verstappen just 8. And Mercedes has definitely been number one lately. Leclerc, 100 points back. 3 ahead of Sainz. Ocon, a bit further down. Russell has overtaken Pourchaire. Tsunoda, Gasly, and Stroll are the top 10. In the constructors, though, Red Bull is number one. I guess they had a much better sprint race because they get 43 points. Mercedes get 42 today, even though Mercedes won the race. And I thought both Mercedes were in the top 3 or 4. Guess not. Mercedes, 5:15, 90 points behind. Very much still in reach, but 4 races to go. Ferrari's well out of it and all alone in 3rd. Aston Martin is 4th. Alpine 5th. McLaren is 6th. And AlphaTauri, again, pick up 2 points. Now just 9 behind with 4 races to go. But at 2 points per race, they would end up finishing 1 point behind us. And if Alfa Romeo get nothing, they'll still be behind us. And yeah, okay, fine. We're looking at sitting on 38. But last couple races, the ERS, very used. Gearbox, very used. We've got some new stuff to put on. The ERS is the one that's got to be replaced, though. And that's going to come with a penalty. We still have, I think, 1 gearbox left to run those last 4 races on. Possibly. I think Florsch might have that gearbox. I'm not sure if Crawford does. Crawford might get a double penalty in the next race and start from the back. Sprint race would have been a better opportunity to maybe do that so you can make your way forward a little bit. Multiple sprint races down the stretch, though. Of course, Brazil is going to have a sprint race as well. At least 1 more anyway to finish up the season. In these last 4 races, what do we have left? Vegas, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Bahrain, or whatever, Marina Bay, Singapore. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm the Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.